Hey there, everybody. It's your friend Evan, aka the Scrivener of Faceless Labs. As the chief storytelling officer of Faceless Labs, you have heard me talk a lot about the importance of telling a better story. What does that mean? It means you are telling a story with everything you choose to invest in, pay attention to, say, don't say, amplify, or ignore. All of it is telling a story. And so, if you're talking about something that matters to you, then it is imperative that you tell a better story. And specifically with regard to blockchain, if I had a dollar for every person who didn't understand that crypto could be more than currency, that NFTs could be more than JPEGs, I would have probably about $1,000 and much more if you take into account the people I don't talk to personally all the time, every day. This technology is so much more than money. It's going to fundamentally transform the way people live, and especially people who are not just techies or investors, everyday people like me. And so I often say the most important thing our peers in industry can do is tell a better story. As part of doing that today, I thought I would give one example for what that could look like. If we have folks who listen during the live, I'm going to be glad to take their questions. Leave a comment below and let me know if you're interested in blockchain or you work in this industry like I do, what kinds of questions you have about telling a better story. And then we're going to get into Andrew's article. It's a great article. I'll talk about how you can connect with him and then also how you can catch us in conversation together tomorrow if you're listening in the present. And I will share the link with you so that you can catch the recording in case you're listening in the future out there on the internet. But first, I want to tell you really quick that this is all brought to you by Faceless Labs, the company that is on a mission to lead the financial revolution and empower the faceless many. Who are the faceless many, you ask? Everyday people like you and me who will leverage the power of blockchain, artificial intelligence, and other technologies that are shaping the future of the internet and just generally the future to rise up and write a better one, a more egalitarian future where all of us get the fruits of our labor and share and prosper together. I often say that whether or not you are in this industry, we are the faceless many, and the many must rise up together. So if that's something you're into, check out Faceless Labs. We got a lot of content on this channel. Subscribe for more, and join our community. There's lots of information. It's free for you. We're not going to try and sell you anything. And it's a great place to share what you know, to ask your questions so that we can all, as I say, rise up together. I think that's enough of an introduction. I really want to get into this article, and I'm going to share the screen really quick just so that you can see, if you're interested, what article I'm talking about so that you can follow along. It's in the link below. It's this Medium article right here, Web3 series, The Story of Blockchain by my friend, Andrew Quinn. And I'll flash Andrew's socials in just a minute so that you can follow along with him if you're interested in that too. But I'm going to go ahead, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to read for you this article. I'm going to go ahead and read it word for word. I'll share the screen wherever there are pictures and it makes sense. And then I'm going to give you a little bit of commentary. If we have folks that join the live stream and ask questions, I'll be glad to answer those. And if you have a question in the comments that we don't get to today, I'll be glad to get back to it later. You can always ping me on my socials too. They're linked down in the comments. I'm on Twitter, I'm on TikTok, and I love making time to clarify things for people, to add value to people and help others tell a better story. What do you say? Should we get into it? I think we should get into it. Okay. Web3 series, The Story of Blockchain. Why it's important to understand this growing phenomenon that is starting to upend the business world. Recently, I sat through a Blockchain 101 presentation from a self-styled expert who promised to make sense of the convoluted topic. Blockchain is immutable, he told the group as I discreetly browsed dictionary.com. It's decentralized. Okay. It's a distributed ledger, meaning what exactly? You can't hack it. Why not? The list of blockchain's characteristics grew longer, but he never got around to directly answering the central question. What exactly is it, and what makes it so special? The presentation dragged on for several sad minutes, culminating in a whimper as an attendee broke the awkward pause following a solicitation for questions with a half-hearted, "Thank you very much. This was very helpful." She was being kind. Here is the story this feeble expert should have told: the double spending problem. From the early days of the internet, visionaries imagined the possibility of peer to peer digital payments in which one individual can pay another directly without the need of a third party to facilitate the transaction. In the physical world, this is simple enough. I want to pay you $100. I take a $100 bill, I hand it to you. Now you have it and I don't. Voila. But a digital implementation of this system is not as simple. Digital currency is represented by files that can be copied and modified, which presents the possibility that an unscrupulous actor might duplicate the currency and spend it twice. This is the double spending problem. The only solution to facilitate online payments was to have a third party, like a bank, manage a payments ledger to ensure that currency was spent only once. Though researchers tried various approaches to address double spending, none could eliminate the need for an intermediary to keep the system honest by clearing transactions against a central ledger until Bitcoin. Now, this is Evan making some commentary here before I get into that, because you might say, what's the big deal about having a third party facilitate my transaction? I trust Venmo. I trust my bank. There are regulations in place to ensure that they don't do me any harm, that they don't mistreat me or take advantage of me. But think about what that costs, my friends. It costs money to collect a payment via Venmo. You might notice, if you're a business owner or just someone getting money from a friend regularly, that Venmo takes a cut of that. Your bank takes a cut from managing your money. And it costs them all more money to hire employees, to train those employees, to build out software, to build other infrastructure. And then they've got to make sure it stays up to date. They got to keep investing money. And even if they do, though they do a good job and spend a lot of time and effort and money on this, there is still an opportunity for someone to take advantage of the system that is in place. There's still a need for you and I, the users of those third-party services, to trust those intermediaries. Sure, regulations help us trust them, and the other kinds of laws that are in place help us to trust them. But the truth is, somebody could still take advantage of them. Because a teller is manning the cash register, somebody can walk into the bank with a gun, scare that person into handing over the money. So we can agree that there are some disadvantages to having these third parties. And what Andrew is going to get into and what I'm going to get into here is that not only does tokenized digital currency solve the double spending problem, but it allows us to remove those third parties from the transactions in a way that is really helpful and beneficial. We'll come back to that. The breakthrough. This is a quote from Satoshi Nakamoto's Bitcoin white paper. I've been working on a new electronic cash system that's fully peer-to-peer with no trusted third party. Thus, read the opening line of an email sent to the mailing list of an obscure cryptographic community in the fall of 2008. The email linked to a white paper describing Bitcoin, the system that would prove capable of finally conquering the double spending problem. The paper's mystique is deepened by the mysterious nature of its author, the pseudonymous Satoshi Nakamoto, whose real identity has never been confirmed. Bitcoin's arrival was initially met with little fanfare, as few people had the depth of knowledge to assess its potential. Early adopters theorized about its future and experimented with possible use cases, with one bold innovator staking his claim to internet folklore by purchasing 2 pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoins, worth roughly $200 million today. As Bitcoin caught on and the market began paying attention, its value grew and its position as a viable investment solidified. Yet, its greatest benefit lay not in the dollar value of the digital currency, but in Bitcoin's decentralization protocol, the robust set of rules that keep the system functioning safely and securely. Born from Bitcoin, blockchain. There's that word. The first real-world implementation of a disintermediated payments system, meaning no third parties, Bitcoin became the first blockchain. Quick addendum here, a little commentary from me, not the author, that it's important to understand, and often overlooked in explaining this, that Bitcoin, as mentioned here, is not just a currency. It is not just a token that has a dollar value. Bitcoin is also the name of a network of people who are trafficking in the Bitcoin currency. The currency is the asset that facilitates transactions on the network that all members of the network agree to use to cover costs, to share, etc. Okay, so that's really important when we're talking about blockchains, to understand that these blockchains are networks. Andrew's going to get into it a little more, but I just wanted to clarify that sometimes when people are talking about Bitcoin, they're not talking about a token you can buy or invest in. They're talking about a network of people who are all keeping a record of transactions together. That's part of what gives that Bitcoin token its value. Back to Andrew's article. As Bitcoin gained attention and became more widely understood, tech entrepreneurs began to imagine ways to improve on the protocol on the network and tailor it to specific use cases by iterating on its approach. This gave rise to a family of successor blockchain networks, which generally share a few properties. Number one, the network is an open system, which means anyone is free to participate by connecting their personal device to the network to validate and record transactions, your computer or your smartphone. Number two, the entire history of transactions across the network since its inception is visible to everyone. All of us can see the transactions that are happening. Number three, any node or individual computer that keeps a record of those transactions is free to join or leave the network at any time. Nodes that leave will simply cease to validate and record. If a node rejoins at a later time, it will check for the latest history of transactions. It'll look at all the other nodes for the most accurate account and pick up where it left off. Number four, if one node's version of history falls out of sync with the majority of nodes on the network, possibly due to a bad actor trying to manipulate the system, it will be rejected by the rest of the network. Now, I want to go give a little commentary on this point too, because an example I often like to use that is helpful for people trying to understand this blockchain system as it pertains to money is the comparison to a bank account. I talked about banks earlier as a third party that can mediate transactions between people, that can store the data related to financial transactions in the dollar network, right? With the dollar token. Bitcoin is a lot like that. But imagine if instead of having one bank vault at your bank with one security guard and one set of security cameras that can be fooled, that are not monitored all the time, or even if they are not able to talk to the people monitoring them. And that bank guard, they got to go home on the weekends. And honestly, they can be bribed. They can get tired and miss something. They can make a sloppy mistake. And so it's not an ideal system of security. It's not foolproof. These nodes that validate the record of transactions on a network like Bitcoin, they're not people, right? They're not someone counting dollar bills and saying, "Oh, we missed one. Oh, these two were stuck together," right? As sometimes happens at your grocery store. This is a computer handling the recording and posting and verifying of transactions the same way a calculator does math. A calculator is programmed to understand that one is the integer unit and two is 2 units of one, right? It's not like every time you type 2 plus 2 equals 4, there's a little green man in there doing the calculation. No, it is programmed according to a set of rules that it executes errorlessly. If it is changed by a bad actor, everybody will know because they'll simply be able to verify. And that's the thing here is Bitcoin's network, all those nodes are like bank vaults. Unlike your bank's vault, all these vaults talk to each other so that if one person tries to change the record, all the other nodes are going to see that something is happening over here that doesn't match. And that person is going to say, "Okay, send me all the Bitcoin." Every single one of them is going to verify their record. And the program that monitors the network, unlike a security guard that can be duped, it's just going to say, "Oh, you don't have permission to do that because you haven't set the longest record. All these other records that I have say that your record has a problem with it." It's going to immediately reject that transaction. And even if for some reason, somebody wanted to try let's say, and get the value of the network by compromising more nodes, they would have to compromise a majority of the nodes. On a network like Bitcoin, there are 10,000. I know the number is higher now. I'm rounding for simplicity's sake. There are 10,000 of these bank vaults that are all talking to each other. They all exist in different places around the world. Many of those places are not publicly known. They all talk to each other. And lest we forget, even if somebody manages to hack into all of these different vaults, the money doesn't physically exist. You can't just pick it up and walk out with Bitcoin. You've not only got to break in and fool them on the way in, you've got to fool all of them on the way out. It is possible, my friend, but it is so unlikely and so much more, orders of magnitudes more unlikely that somebody could carry out that heist than any heist they might attempt in a physical bank anywhere in the world today. That it's just you might as well say it's not possible. At the very least, I think we can agree that it is a more secure, more efficient system than the one we have in place today. It costs less, makes less mistakes, works faster. Let's get back to Andrew's article. Blockchain can be understood as a family of decentralized databases that grew from the Bitcoin protocol. Other popular blockchains include Ethereum, Solana, Ripple, and Hyperledger, which were all created with specific use cases or improvements in mind. I'm going to make a note about that, specific use cases, because I want to talk about that, but not right now. Okay, pardon me. What is blockchain? Now we can answer the original question in the right context. Blockchain is a new databasing paradigm that emerged as a solution to the double spending problem by storing and processing data across an open network of peers rather than in a central location, across those many nodes instead of in one bank vault. In the most literal sense, blockchain is a file of chronological transactions kept on every computer that participates in a given blockchain network. This distributed file is simultaneously updated by all network participants in accordance with a common protocol. Evan again, a common set of rules that all the computers securing the network play by. That's what they mean by that. By contrast, you are likely more familiar with traditional bases that centralize data in one place and organize it into tables. And here, Andrew has a helpful graphic, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen for just a second. Go ahead and skip ahead 5 or 10 seconds if you're watching this on the replay. Sorry about that, my friends. We're doing it live. Okay, here we go. By contrast, you're likely more familiar with traditional databases that centralize data in one place and organize it into tables. Here's an example of a traditional centralized database. It's got our name, it's got our location, it's got our phone, all in one table right here. Blockchain's decentralized approach, on the other hand, organizes data in a ledger, represented by these little blue files here, that is copied across every node in the network. Okay? That's what's meant by decentralized. So this example above, this is a picture of a server, something you might see at Facebook or Amazon. They've got rooms full of these servers, right? And they've got 3 or 4 of these centers across the world in case one set of servers goes down. They don't want the whole internet to go out. So they've invested a lot of money to build robust centralized infrastructure. But even those 3 or 4 highly secure, super state-of-the-art centralized databases are not as distributed, not as decentralized, and therefore they're not as potentially secure as all the many nodes of a blockchain network could be. Every person who adds a device, which is a node to the network, they fortify the security of that network by creating another copy of the ledger, another bank vault, if you will, that a bad actor would have to compromise in order to get the money or the information. Because, like Andrew said, there are many specific use cases, and we'll come back to this, but blockchains can give a tangible form to intangible information like money, which can be digital, but also like your identity. Imagine all the copies, if you're a patient of the medical system in the United States, of your medical records that just exist on paper in a filing cabinet somewhere or in someone's email server. There's probably tons of them. And that's not terribly secure, right? So we'll get into different kinds of use cases for creating tokenized information and using blockchains to store it. Let's continue with Andrew's article. Each blue file in the picture above is an identical copy. Inside each file is a history of all transactions that have ever occurred across the network. The rules engine, I like that wording there, rules engine, basically the programming, the code inside the calculator that makes it perform math correctly according to rules members of the network have all set. The rules engine ensures that all files stay consistent with each other as new transactions come in. It's not some bank teller counting the money. It's like a calculator, and it handles the transactions errorlessly in that same manner. Now, there's one more important difference between the two pictures above, Andrew says. Traditional databases, like the one you're used to, have a database administrator, someone who is paid to keep the database running properly, and who you can call if a field in the database needs to be updated. Blockchain doesn't have a central administrator. So no one person, no one entity, Jeff Bezos, Amazon, no one can change the history of the data, and you don't need to pay anyone to maintain it. Now, I do want to talk about payment because that is a part of it. I'm not sure I entirely agree with that statement, but let's keep going for now because I don't want to make it too convoluted. Andrew poses the question, who cares and why? This raises the possibility of adding efficiency to traditional networks by leveraging blockchain solutions to track accurate history while reducing overhead costs, which many companies are beginning to explore. In 2019, BMW successfully piloted a blockchain project to more efficiently manage its supply chain and expanded the program to 10 suppliers the following year. On the back of that success, it is now looking to implement blockchain to reduce manual effort involved in financial operations and to grow its customer loyalty program, probably also reduce errors. Walmart Canada made a similar play to improve supply chain efficiency through a blockchain implementation in early 2020. Since then, it has reduced invoice reconciliation with suppliers from 70% of all invoices requiring reconciliation to only 1%. I'm going to read that again. Since implementing blockchain, Walmart has reduced invoice reconciliation with suppliers from 70% of all invoices to only 1%. Wow. If anyone tries to tell you these aren't real blockchain solutions, stare at them condescendingly until they stop speaking, and then invite them to my upcoming webinar series so I can gently explain why that doesn't matter. That was cheeky, Andrew. I like it. Now, industry use cases are evolving from the physical supply chain to the digital supply chain. More recently, major banks came together to found Versana, a joint venture with a mission to bring speed and efficiency to the syndicated loan market with the help of blockchain technology. As with prior use cases, their vision is to reduce turnaround time, manual information maintenance, and data discrepancies across industry actors. Real quick, I know we're almost at the end, but I got to say, I met a guy. He's a scientist, researcher. He's working on cures for cancer and other types of incurable diseases, right now. And he is interested in blockchain because the protocol for a lab requires that you keep meticulous notes. And the processes for documenting your research, it sounds like, are quite outdated. And I'm not sure if this is true overall medical research, if this is specific to any one lab or company, but what he described to me was filing cabinets upon filing cabinets full of information that was mostly handwritten that would have to be manually searched for, found, interpreted, and updated by people who, get old and retire, and younger people who come into a job over time. Think of how inefficient a system like that is and how much better it would be, how much time and cost we could save and space we could save, energy we could save, trees we could save, if instead those records were kept on a ledger like this that was updated not by a human hand, but by a computer that a human helped. It has the efficiency of machine learning and the personal touch of a human. It would be faster, it'd be more efficient, it'd be cheaper. It'd be a great solution for a lot of things: medical research, health data, apparently invoicing. Andrew finishes. Virtually any corner of business that relies on middlemen could potentially add efficiency to their systems through decentralized solutions. And with each incremental success, the blockchain story becomes one of growing disruption. Whew, great article. I made it a little longer with all my commentary than it appears there. But again, if you want to read it for yourself, I highly recommend it. Give it a share, give it a like, so that more people will see this kind of story. This is the kind of story we need to be telling about blockchain instead of talking about tokens that are worth 10 times more today than they were yesterday. Because what I want to impress upon you is that, yes, that is impactful, but it is not the big picture value that will be captured. The number of people who got rich quick gambling on a crypto token pale in comparison to the number of people who will save time, who will save money, who will gain liberty and control over what is theirs in the digital future we are inheriting if we can implement these solutions at scale. I also want to quickly share for you before I give a little more commentary. This is Andrew's Twitter. You can find him at AC Quinn with 2 N's and an underscore. He's a friend of mine, and he talks about this stuff often in really helpful ways. I'm going to have a conversation with him tomorrow on a show that he hosts every Friday with another Twitter user, Web3 Savant. They've asked me to come on and talk about my work, my passion specifically for helping everyday people understand what this technology really is, and then why it might matter to them personally. We're going to talk about use cases like securing your personal data. We're going to talk about use cases like saving money. We're going to talk about how blockchain, when computers do what computers do well, will free humans to do what humans do well. Instead of having to work a job that you don't like just so you can get money for groceries and rent, there is a computer who will do those less delightful jobs. They will do it better. They will earn more money and save more cost, which will free a human to do something that a human is uniquely qualified for and uniquely passionate about. It's not a cause for concern that these computers will take our jobs, because what they'll do is they'll create new jobs for us. And I talked about specific use cases and incentives earlier. What I really want people to understand, if you get one takeaway from this, what is blockchain? What is crypto? What are NFTs? I want you to understand this is an innovative, meaning never before in our history has this been possible, innovative technology that gives a tangible form to intangible things. A good comparison in this case would not be like money, although money is, I lie. Money is a good comparison. But my favorite comparison, because I think it's even bigger, is words. Words are another innovative way to give a tangible form to an intangible thing, right? When I say river, it doesn't mean anything to the owls or the trees, but you have a pretty precise understanding of the meaning I am trying to transfer to you through the use of that symbol. It lubricates our social interaction. And it is the uniquely human problem to figure out how to coordinate. Tokens, non-fungible tokens, blockchains are tools to help humans align their values and coordinate at scale. Just like words did, just like the social construction of money did, this new innovative technology opens new possibilities for how we can create, align, and gamify incentives. If you're familiar with my platform, you know that something I'm very passionate about is reforming the value system. I hold a heretical belief that money is an idol. It is an inefficient, mostly harmful tool that sometimes helps people and has done a great deal of lubrication in terms of how easy it makes it for me to go into a store and buy a t-shirt with a $10 bill, because we all agree there's no haggling, et cetera, et cetera. I don't have to trade seashells or apples or horse hooves or something like that. It is a social lubricant, but it has created a significant amount of problems. And the truth is that while most of us would probably agree, if you get up today and go to work and work hard, that you should be able to afford groceries and rent and provide a life for your family, the truth is that the people who earn the most money and the people who work the hardest are not often the same people. I am not demonizing people who have made a lot of money. I am not demonizing people who choose not to work for money. I am suggesting to you that this is evidence that the system we have constructed is inefficient and harms us all. and more. Forget if you don't agree with that, that's perfectly fine. No problem here. Not here to make a moral judgment on it. What I am here to tell you is that these tools, these innovative tools, give us new mechanisms, better mechanisms, as we've talked about, the cost they save, the efficiencies they provide, to help us incentivize human behavior, fairly distribute and reward value. I'm not talking about some communist Russia thing where, the government's got all the rubles and everybody gets 50. No, 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 no. I'm talking about a whole new system whose whose use cases with most potential haven't even been invented yet. They haven't even been thought of. Bitcoin, as one example, is a whole new way to do money. It may have some similarities to the dollar system, but it has way more differences. And by using these new technologies, these new tools, people will start to see the ways in which they can improve their lives and start to think about other ways that our lives can be improved by adopting new technology. So, my friends, if you think nothing else about blockchain after today, I would encourage you to remember that it is a system to help humans coordinate incentives and work together at scale, align our actions based on values, and tokenize things, give tangible form to things that we couldn't give a form to before: our memories, our health data on the internet, where, as Andrew pointed out, when everything exists as a copy, it's easy to forge it or fake it. And we can get into all that later. We can talk about the other specific benefits of blockchain, but I think that's where I want to leave it today. I see we had Homer join us. Homer, my brother, thank you so much for being here. Nobody is going to control enough nodes in a blockchain to compromise its integrity, is Homer's point, and I am inclined to agree. The numbers, I'm sure 100 years from now we'll have a great heist movie about how somebody hacked into the blockchain and how they did it. But for now, where we're at, phew, good luck, man. Good luck. Again, thank you all for joining me today. I would invite you to join my conversation with Andrew tomorrow on Twitter. The link is down below. We're going to talk more about telling a better story, which is my call to everybody in the blockchain industry. It's a recorded conversation, so if you are listening to this in the future, hey, hello, I hope things are going well in the world of the future, and you can catch the recording. I'm sure it'll still be relevant then. And I would ask you to leave your questions, leave your thoughts, leave your comments. Let me know, what about this resonated with you? Was it helpful? Do you understand blockchain better? Do you agree or disagree with any of the points I raised here? And do you still have questions? If so, I'd love to hear it. Leave them in the comments. Be sure to like and subscribe to the Faceless Labs page and check us out for the other kinds of educational content we do. If you want to learn more about this stuff, I advocate that the best way to learn anything is not to spend 24 hours a day studying it yourself, but to get in a room or a community online with interested others, because the second you do that, you accelerate your learning journey. If there are 1,000 of us spending 1 hour a day to learn this stuff, asking our questions, sharing what we know, and growing together, that's going to be a much bigger return than your 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Spend less time, get better results. You like? Wonderful. And if you are interested in working with Faceless Labs, we've got more information about how you can get in touch with us below. We are building the future of the internet, and you, yes, you, are invited. I'm talking about gaming, AI, blockchain, experiences that will scale to everyday people and invite them to explore how this technology can benefit them personally. That's what we're all about here. And that's what I'm all about. So I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope this has been helpful to you. And I cannot wait to hear your feedback or to see you again here next time for another lesson. My friends, until then, as always, rise up.